Good morning. I'm Lenore Bajar-Dukes, and I serve this congregation as the Director of Lifespan Faith Development here, virtually, and here as the Unitarian Universalist Church of Lancaster. My pronouns are she and her, and I wish you all a good morning. Taking a second to see everybody. Good morning. It's my pleasure to welcome all of you to this progressive spiritual community where we come together to nourish the spirit, connect in love, and act for justice. At UUCL, as we like to refer to ourselves, love is our only doctrine, and service and justice are our most sacred prayers. So, we pray in many ways. We pray together by striving to live lives in words and deeds that affirm that Black lives matter. We pray by striving to ensure that people have control over what happens to their own bodies and reproductive freedom. And our doctrine of love has moved us to affirm for decades that love is divine and love is what makes a family. So no matter who you are, where you are from, who you love, what feelings you're carrying here today, or how you experience and express gender in your body, no matter what your age, you are welcome here. You're welcome to journey and grow with us. Because we're gathering here in a community of many different ages, experiences, identities, and backgrounds, because we know that we need one another. We know that we all carry an imperfect but precious piece of wisdom and truth, and that there's always more truth that can help us grow. So whether you believe in nature, love, God of many names, science, a combination of all of those things, or if you're just content to let the great mystery be, or whether your truth is a different truth altogether, you're welcome here. Let us continue to weave our beautiful tapestry of sacred community. And finally, I offer a special gratitude for the presence of anyone who is new here. Welcome. We're so glad that you've taken the brave step of checking out this sacred community. And we hope that you'll feel connected to what's going on here. We hope you'll find folks to chat with during one of our breakout rooms after the service, and we hope that we'll get to meet you, whether in person or virtually. And if you'd like to find out more about what goes on here, please, we encourage you to sign up for our newsletter by visiting our website. And now I invite us to enter into sacred space as Reverend Israel lights our chalice, the beloved symbol of our Unitarian Universalist movement. And our chalice lighting was written by two young children and their parent in honor of their mom's ordination. We are all flames. When we gather hand in hand, our church, our community, our home, we inspire, we celebrate, we mourn. We come together, sharing our light of hope for our shared future.
Thank you, Lenore, and I also bid good morning and welcome to all of you here into this space. I am Reverend Israel. I use he, him for pronouns, and I'm the minister of this congregation. And this morning, I invite you to come into this space gently and quietly with yourselves, with your whole selves, with your whole hearts, as complicated and broken and brimming over with all that life brings as they may be. I welcome you to enter into this space softly and with intention. For that is what this place is all about. To help us to live lives of intention. To live with intention, my friends, it takes the energy, actually, to pause and be still, which is not simply about stopping from our distracting everyday lives, but about allowing ourselves, putting on the brakes, so to speak, expending that energy to put on the brakes so that we can pause and be still. and replenish our energy, and sort out for ourselves what is most important in this world and in this life, and sort out what is not so important to us. This time, my friends, we call here worship. This sacred hour that we spend together, we call it worship. The root of that word, as you might know, you might have heard me say before, is that we come together to seek the worthship, or the worthiness of things that are worthy of our attention. So today, in the spirit of worship, we come together, and I suggest that we come together in the spirit of anchoring ourselves here in this space, of anchoring ourselves, of mooring our ships here in this, which we can think of as our safe harbor. Because out there are storms, there is strife, there is challenges, there is difficulty, there is turmoil, and there is beauty. And here, inside, in this beautiful space, our safe harbor, with our ship's companions, we can drop our anchor. We can cast our questions of meaning making into this deep well of community. We can draw up strength so that we can go out and greet the infinite sea of mystery and wonder and frustration and beauty and struggle that is before all of us. And in here, we can share our tales. We can sing our sailor songs of peace on distant shores. Here in this port, we can chart our individual and collective courses. Because out there, it can be easy to get lost. And here, in this port, we can pause and replenish our stocks of courage and resilience. Here, where we can be anchored in safety for 45 minutes, 50 minutes, 1 hour in a day. We can allow ourselves to feel safe and calm if that's what we need. But we know that being here in a safe harbor, as our ships of worthship, that being in a safe harbor is not what ships are built for. They are not built to remain in port. So from this community, my hope for you today is that you gather the sense of hope and courage and peace and deep connection with all things, so that you have the strength you need to go out and hail the perilous winds that are urging us on towards life. And of course, the great mystery that lies beyond its horizons.
making our way by the lights of the heavens in our beautiful blue boat home. I give thanks to the waves upholding me, hail the great winds urging me on, greet the infinite sea before me, sing the sky my sailor's song. I was born upon the fathoms, never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat home.
The wide universe. I invite you now into a time of imagination. And this is coming to you and us from a story called On's Anger, which was written by Gail Silver, illustrated by Christian Kromer, and adapted by me. So if there are children here, come on a little bit closer up. If you are a lover of story or metaphor or images and you are an adult, please come a little closer too. This is for all of us. On was in the living room, building a tower, the tallest tower he had ever built. His grandfather was in the kitchen, making dinner. On, grandfather called out, "Dinner is ready." On added a yellow block and smiled. The tower was almost as tall as he was. "Now, the next one," On whispered, placing a long block on the very top. Grandfather came in from the kitchen. "What a wonderful tower!" "It's not done yet," On told him. "Come sit down," grandfather said. "You can play more after we eat." He set the plates on the table and returned to On, who was balancing a very beautiful block right next to the long one. "Put your blocks down now," said grandfather. "Dinner is getting cold." On wanted to keep playing. He really wanted to keep playing. He opened his mouth to speak, but his bottom lip quivered, and the words wouldn't come. On's eyes filled with tears, and he started to cry. I wonder if you've ever felt like this, just so disappointed. Grandfather tried to put his arm around On. "Hey," but On pushed him away, knocking the tower over and sending the blocks flying. "Go away! I hate you!" On shouted. "You're upset," said grandfather. "Please, go to your room and sit with your anger. I'll come in when you're calm and able to talk." On ran to his room and leapt onto his bed. His cries grew so strong he could feel them all the way down in his belly. Have you ever felt like this? How do I sit with my anger? He wondered. I'm so angry, angry, angry. Finally, said a voice. I was hoping you'd notice me. On lifted his head and came face to face with a hairy red creature. Who are you? Asked On, and how did you get into my room? I'm your anger, said the creature. You brought me here. My anger? The anger nodded. Did grandfather see you come in? I'm not supposed to talk to strangers. Don't worry, An. I'm not a stranger. I'm the part of you that comes out when things don't go your way. I'm right here every time you get angry. I know you feel scared when I'm around. I can make you cry. I can make you want to hit things. I can even make you say mean things to people you love. And An's anger started to turn the knob of the bedroom door. Come on, he said. I'll show you. An was tempted, but grandfather had said to stay in the room. Wait, An called. Maybe we can do something in here. An's anger turned and extended his hairy hand. I know just the thing, he said. And An took his anger's hand, and together they danced all around the room. They raised their arms overhead, and they spun wide circles. They used their breath to make sounds like a strong howling wind. Can you do that right now? Use your breath to make sounds like a strong howling wind, like this. They got down on their knees and pounded the ground with their hands. It sounded like they were playing drums on the earth, and An liked that. Ah, ah. I wonder if you can notice how you're feeling in your body right now. An had that anger in his belly. I wonder what that anger is feeling like for you right now. Finally, they were exhausted and ready to be still.
Sometimes you might find yourself in a situation like An, and you might not be ready to be still. You might find that it takes a lot of discipline to ready yourself to be still. So I ask you, when you are feeling a myriad of emotions, sadness, anger, where will you let your anger bring you? Will you let your anger take you out the door? Will you let your anger open the door handle? Or will you let it dance around with you in the room? Will you let it do what it needs to do so that you can then come to a place where you can sit with it? I invite you now to pause for a moment with whatever you have going on inside you this morning. To cultivate the sense or the energy or the practice that you need to find your anchor when you need it most. To be able to pause and listen to yourself, your heart, and not just react. We seek to anchor ourselves so that we do not become runaway ships, so that we do not drift away off course, so that we do not find ourselves on the wrong path or on a crash course or lost, so that we do not strand ourselves somewhere that we do not want to be stranded. Anchoring helps us to regain our even keel, to rest and replenish and ask ourselves, is this where I really want to be going? And is this what I really want to be doing? We don't anchor ourselves to deny ourselves the emotions that we're experiencing or to avoid them, but to give ourselves the space and the time that we need to feel them. To anchor ourselves in this safe harbor so that we can meet those winds hailing us on. Part of this is the practice of mindful attention. And so during the song that will be coming up in a moment, I invite you to look out on the waves, on the water, and to find your anchor inside yourself. Some people do that by anchoring themselves in their breathing, in their breath. Others may do it by staring into a flame, by closing your eyes, by focusing on something in the distance, by simply placing your feet flat on the floor and being present. My anchor place always involves water, literally and figuratively. It's where I go to pause and to reflect and to gaze out at the horizon and remind myself how I am such a small part of such a vast world. How my anchor literally connects me to everything that is. I invite you to do that and to find the peace for yourself that you need this morning while we listen to this song.
How many of you think that On's anger went away right then in our story? Well, let's see. On and his anger sat together silently. They breathed in. They breathed out. And then they sat some more. I don't know how long they sat, but it felt like long enough. I don't like to say mean things to people, said An, but sometimes I just can't help it. I can help you, said his anger. How can you help? I thought you were the one who was making me do these things in the first place. That's true, but I'm also your friend. Whenever you feel angry, you should come sit with me. After we spend some time together, you might feel better. Spending time with you is kind of fun, An said. Do you want to stay for dinner? I think I'll be gone before dinner, said his anger. Are you sure? Asked An. We're having ice cream for dessert. An's anger smiled, and An smiled back. An was tired. He took a deep breath and let out a little sigh. And when he did, his anger became smaller. And An and his anger continued to breathe together. With each in-breath, An's anger got a little smaller, and with each out, he felt a little better. An heard a gentle tapping on his door. It was his grandfather. Grandfather and An sat together. I'm sorry I didn't listen, said An. I was really angry. I wanted to keep playing. And Grandfather took An in his arms. Thank you for your kind words, he said. I sat with my anger like you asked, An said, but we didn't just sit. We danced and we played too. Do you want to meet him? An looked up, but his anger was gone. Grandfather, said An, do you know what happened? I think I do, said Grandfather. You took good care of your anger, and it went away. That's right, An said. How did you know? When I was a little boy, I met with my anger too. Really? Was it because of blocks? No, laughed Grandfather. There were no blocks, just frogs, a lily pond, and a sun that wouldn't set. Come, let's eat dinner, and I'll tell you my story. And so they did. I wonder how this story made you feel. I wonder if you noticed any feelings in your body, in your belly, or your heart, or your head, your shoulders, or your back, while you were listening to this story. I wonder if this story reminds you of anything in your life.
And with all of what you carry in your life, all of what you bring to this space, this table, this well of community that we share, all that you carry, your joys, your sorrows, your anger, your frustrations at the world, your heartbreak, your confusion, your joys, your celebrations, your must shares, the things that are on your heart that you just cannot keep to yourself, and the things that weigh you down that you cannot carry by yourself, that you need the help of community to carry. And the things you have lost along the way, the things that leave you confused, concerned in the things that words cannot express. We bring all of those here to this, our well of community, and we cast them in so that we can hold them for each other. So now is your time, your invitation, if you carry a joy, a sorrow, or a complex truth on your heart that you feel like you need to share with this community. Now is your time to do so. We invite you to do so by typing it into the chat in 15 words or less, and I'll drop a stone into our well for you so that you know that you are held here. And if you'd like us to read your name aloud, you can write from so-and-so, and if not, we will not share your name. For all of the joys, sorrows, complex truths that are in process, and truths that words simply cannot express. All of the things we carry as individuals and as a community and as a world. I drop this final stone into our well for all of you and all of us. I invite you to take a moment with me to pause once again for all that we carry. This reading, this prayer, what some might call it, was written by Thich Nhat Hanh, who died just a couple of days ago. And I read it in the honor of his life and legacy, and the beauty and the joy and the message of mindfulness that he left for the world. I read it for all of us. He said, "This body is not me. I am not caught in this body. I am life without boundaries. I have never been born and I have never died. Over there, the wide ocean and the sky with many galaxies all manifests from the basis of consciousness. Since beginningless time, I have always been free. Birth and death are just a door through which we go in and go out. Birth and death are only a game of hide and seek. So smile to me and take my hand and wave goodbye. Tomorrow, we shall meet again, or even before. We shall always be meeting again at the true source, always meeting again on the myriad paths of life."
When the ground drops out from under you and there's nothing there to hold on to, no, you're not the first to fall right through to a space of mystery, a place of questioning who you are and who you're meant to be. When you can't find home where it used to be, and your roots have faded into memory, no, you're not alone in this new reality. It's a well-trod path traveled by ancestors who came before and showed the way. Throughout time, we've been pushed into the dark, called to find the light within our broken hearts and let it shine. And we can't do it on our own, gotta find our family in the unknown. And side by side we'll go by stepping stone till the journey becomes our home. Some days it feels like searching for water in the sand. Sometimes it feels like falling with nowhere to land. Yeah, there are ups and downs that'll turn you round and round. We come back to the footprints, they're all around. And throughout time, we've been pushed into the dark, called to find the light within our broken hearts and let it shine. And we can't do it on our own, gotta find our family in the unknown. And side by side we'll go by, stepping stone, till the journey becomes our home. When the walls are closing in, we find our way out through the door, into a light that's so much brighter than our hearts have known before. When we heed the call to follow the voice that burns within our core, we join the ranks of seekers, wanderers, and warriors of the soul. And throughout time, we've been pushed into the dark, called to find. Throughout time, we've been pushed into the dark, called to find the light within our broken hearts and let it shine. And we can't do it on our own, gotta find our family in the unknown. And side by side we'll go by, stepping stone, till the journey becomes, yes, the journey becomes our home.
I think we've seen today the power of when you're on that journey of life, of stepping away for a moment, of stepping off the path when the path is challenging, to give yourself a moment of grounding, of centering, of anchoring yourself for a time, so that you can collect your thoughts, so that you can prevent yourself from going somewhere you did not intend to, so that you can find your center, so that you can remember where it is that you are going, or perhaps not where you are going, but how you are choosing to travel the path, the intentionality that you put into your movements, into your footsteps, the love that you trod the path with. I think we have seen today the power of anger and emotions to set us off course, but also to remind us to stop and to pay attention. Anger can be a distraction, our emotions can be a distraction, but they can also help us to truly refocus on where we are going to. The practice of doing that is to allow ourselves the space and the discipline, if you will, or the practice of developing the attention we need to notice those things. So it's not just about stepping off the path. It's about concentrating on the path behind, in front, and all around us. Sorting out what's important, like I said before. To remind ourselves of what is most true in this world. that we are all deeply interconnected, and that love is the most important thing in the world. Simple message, trite message. You might find it on a greeting card, but there's a reason for that, because it is so true. And every time we stop to pause and truly reflect on the nature of this life, this existence, this reality, it seems to be the message that people throughout time have discovered over and over and over again. A couple more things that I want to say about anger, reflecting on the story from earlier. You'll notice that before An even discovered his anger, he cried first. He was sad. For many of us, sadness, disappointment, frustration is often at the root cause of our anger. Now, for those of us who are socialized as men, we might have gotten the message that anger was the best way or the most acceptable way for us to express our emotions. The only way to express our emotions. For those of you who were socialized as women, you might have found that you were given the message that anger was not an acceptable way to express your emotions. That you were encouraged to hold them back and to be polite, non-confrontational, and passive. Of course, anger is not bound by gender. But those are the messages that many of us get in our culture. And I suspect that part of the spiritual path, the spiritual journey, is finding the balance of our emotions between allowing ourselves to feel them and notice them and express them, and between knowing what we need to let go of, what we need to let shrink, what we need to bid goodbye to because it does not serve us. But emotions, anger especially, has some very interesting uses for us. It allows us to know when our boundaries have been crossed. And I propose to us that it allows us to realize what is most important to us. When that thing or that value or that anything has been taken away from us or denied to us, it is our anger that points it out for us often. The deep, deep sadness and frustration that we do not have access to, or we cannot be a part of, or we cannot see or do or be or see come into the world, that thing that is most important to us. Perhaps that is living in a world that understands that love is the most important thing of all. And so anger can be a way for us to find our integrity, in a sense. To let us remind us of what is most important and to let go of what needs to be let go of. And then to identify the values for ourselves that are unmovable, non-negotiable, the ones that just might be worth fighting or at least struggling or speaking up for. The things that are at the core of who we are and the nature of the universe. And then to allow ourselves to pause some more and to sit with the discomfort and the ambiguity of what it means to be struggling for a world that is more in alignment with our values. Because we cannot let our anger become an all-consuming thing that makes us not able to have a vision or have a clear picture of where it is that we are going and what we want out of this world. Or at least to give us a clear picture of how we need to move along the path and interact with others along the path. To walk in a way, to move in a way that is in alignment with our values, even if we don't know where we're going. So I propose ultimately that the sacred dimension of stepping back when we are experiencing strong emotions like anger, the sacred dimension of pausing, is that it lets us see the dimension of everything. That we are connected to this world, to each other. That we are not detached from it. We don't pause to detach from the world, but to re-engage with it, to remind ourselves of how we are each bound to each other into the world. We don't detach from our anger or our happiness or hunger or fullness or pain. We use it to cultivate in ourselves a deep sense of meaning and purpose and connection. It was, what I'm sort of talking about here is having a mystical experience in a sense. About using our life, about giving mindful attention to what is going on in our life so that we can, in some ways, access what could be called a mystical experience. Which, according to William James, who was a psychologist, philosopher, metaphysicist almost in some ways too, said that there are three dimensions to a spiritual experience. One is perceiving yourself as being outside of space and time. So that's could be seen as like a detachment almost from the world. The other perception is about seeing yourself as deeply interconnected to all things. These are things, like I said before, that many people throughout time who have taken the time to reflect and be mindful and think about what is most important have experienced these things. And the third thing is a noetic experience. It was to have a noetic experience. And what that meant was to truly experience and know a deep truth about the world. And that's the one I think that takes the most time. That's the one that takes the most cultivation and the most practice, to feel with your whole body and self and being those things that you have discovered through the mystical experience. It takes a lifetime of practice for those things. I leave you with this connection to another quote from Thich Nhat Hanh, who I think expressed this in a similar way, but in his own very unique way. He said that in mindfulness, one is not only restful and happy, but alert and awake. That meditation is not an evasion, as in like to escape from the world, but it is a serene encounter with reality. That feelings, whether of compassion or irritation, should be welcomed, recognized, and treated on an absolutely equal basis. Because all are ourselves. The tangerine I am eating is me. The mustard greens I am planting are me. I plant with all my heart and mind. I clean this teapot with the kind attention I would have were I giving the baby Buddha or Jesus a bath. Nothing should be treated more carefully than anything else. In mindfulness, compassion, irritation, mustard plant, and teapot are all sacred. My friends, my final thought is for us to be grateful for all of our emotions that we experience in this life. To allow ourselves the time to connect with them and see the world, know the world truly through them. To use them to help us identify the things, the values, the people, the plants, the animals, the world, the life that is most important to us. To let our feelings and our experience of life remind us of life and help us return again and again to love in all that we do.
Of stirrings of compassion blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the end, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
We now take an offering as an outward expression of our interdependence. You can support our work as you are able by texting the amount of your donation to the number on your screen or through the Contribute tab on our website at UUCLonline.org. This month, we share half of the offering with Crispus Attucks Community Center, a nonprofit that supports the preservation of African American cultural heritage and empowers youth and families to reach their full potential. Please give generously. Thank you.
Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the hard night. If you cannot sing like angels, if you cannot speak before thousands, you can give from deep within you. You can change the world with your love. Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the hard night. If you cannot sing like angels, if you cannot speak before thousands, you can give from deep within you. You can change the world with your love.
We invite you to stay for conversation and connection now.